Thank you for joining us. So tonight, a thought I had was how do we use our body in space to really help us hold the postures? We can often think muscularly, but how do we and I was thinking more particularly on distal points of the body. So when we're in poses, can we feel that those distal areas in the body that hold us there, that space can actually hold us? So it's just a different way of being in postures, a different approach. As we investigate these things, it's not about right or wrong or the best way or the worst way to do things. It's giving you multiple tools in your little toolbox, so to speak, ways that you can approach poses that might help you, that might give you more exploration, greater creativity, whatever, however you want to look at it. So let's begin. So hopefully, I mean, if you've got a little bit of, you know, tenderness in your lower back, you can always place a little blanket or something there if you need some support. Otherwise, come into your full length and see what happens. Now, if you have trouble in your shoulders, you may have to adjust your arms, but see what happens when you try to lengthen fully arms overhead and feet. Can you feel the edges of your fingertips, the edges of your feet, and that length in your body? Where do you feel space? Perhaps even where do you feel tension? And then release that a little bit, and then just bring your legs a little bit wider and your hands a little bit wider. So you're not quite an X, but you're, a little bit wider. And then see what happens when you extend here. I'm imagining it gives you something slightly different feeling. And you go into your width more than your length. And then soften that, and then see if you can widen the legs even further and widen the arms even further, which is more of an X position. And now see if you can press into the heels and the fingertips. I mean, you could also press into the toes and the fingertips and see what that feeling is like. And then press through the heels. And then release that, and then come back again to that vertical line on the floor and really extend through the heels and the fingertips. And maybe you feel something slightly different, maybe not. And then soften that. And then just slide the feet up so their knees are bent. And then, depending on your body today, you can place the hands down, you can place them under your head, or you can go for this overhead stretch, feeling the support through the space. So it's like your fingertips are touching that wall or whatever the surface is behind you. When you inhale, the knees together and extend up. Again, we're going for the 90 degrees, but if it needs to be less for you, go through that. But see what happens if you can feel that you're really pressing those heels. Like for me, it would be pressing them up to the ceiling and really pressing my hands and fingers towards the wall behind me. And then bring the feet down, and then inhale, bring them up. And it's really like you're touching the ceiling with the feet and touching the wall behind you. And release down and inhale, really reaching towards that ceiling or the wall, wherever you are. And then we'll do one more like this. Inhale, reaching. And then release that and just release the arms for a couple of breaths. see what that feels like. Now we're going to place the arms to your side, and you're reaching those fingertips. You know, you can look over both shoulders. Actually, since we're here, see if you can just slowly drop one ear to the floor. Just using that weight, just to you can release your arms for a moment as you do this, just to release the neck as best as you can, using weight and gravity. So it's not like you're pressing this, it's like you're letting that ear drop to the mat. So again, that's using space and weight to support you in the pose. And then inhale up, face up to the ceiling, and then see if you can just drop the ear to the floor and see what kind of stretch you get there. And then come back up to the looking up. And now extend through the fingertips like you're trying to touch whatever's on either side of you. It might be a piece of furniture, it might be the wall. And then bend the knees into the chest. And now you're going to try to stretch those feet towards that hand as much as you can. And then bend at the knees. Take a little, you can always soften in between poses. Or if you want to challenge yourself, you can keep those fingers really extending out. And then bend towards the other side. And then really extend through those feet. Really coming into as much length as you can. Keep as far over to that hand as possible. And then bring them back and hands down. And then just roll to your side and come up into all fours. So when we come here, the first thing is to see if you can feel your tail lengthen to the wall behind you and your head going towards the opposite wall. So that hopefully can bring your spine more or less into neutral. And then we'll just start to round the spine a little bit into cat and dog tilt. Inhale. And then again, as you move, just try to imagine that tail and that head, whatever direction it's going in, trying to imagine it going as far as it can in that direction. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And then one more, come back into that length of the spine and feel that head and tail. And then we'll start to bring the right knee and the right forehead towards the forehead towards the leg. I'm going to have to give myself a little more space and swing it long. And as you're doing this, every time you come long, see if you can feel the toes really going to that wall behind you. And the head is going up a little bit, but maybe you can imagine like it's your nose that's going as forward as possible. So that's where I'm feeling it, is I'm really extending through my nose and my feet behind me. And then the next time the leg comes out, really extend through those toes and the nose and then the opposite hand fingertips. So see if you can feel your fingertips reaching that space in front of you, the toe tips space behind you, and your nose coming forward. And then bring that down. So I don't know if you feel more ease in the pose or if it feels challenging, but often finding yourself in space is really useful and gives you more support, that you're not just trying to muscle your body into something. So now we'll bring the left leg in. Extend those toes long to the wall behind you. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And now leave the leg here. You're extending the toes behind you, the nose in front of you. And then bring that hand up so it's the fingers and the toes. And then bring the hand and the leg down. And then in this pose, just walk the hands a little forward again and see if you can feel into those sit bones there. See if you can feel those sit bones go back to the wall behind you, towards the heels. I mean, they may not get there, but the idea is, can you feel that extension through those sit bones? And then inhale, slowly come up. And when we go into downward dog, see if you can keep focusing on those sit bones, really lengthening up on that diagonal towards the ceiling. So as you tuck the toes under, see if you can keep feeling those sit bones, sit bones, sit bones, sit bones, sit bones, really reaching up towards the ceiling. Up on that diagonal. And then inhale, coming down. And again, leave the hands there and then reaching those sit bones long to the wall behind you, to those, towards the heels. And then inhale, slowly come up. Tuck the toes under again. And just focus on those sit bones, sit bones, sit bones, sit bones, moving up, 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 as high as they can go. And then slowly walk the feet towards the hands. And then see if you can, grab your elbows, and you're really going to extend your elbows in space. So see if you can sweep those elbows in front of you and all the way up to the ceiling. And then you can slowly open the arms down. And I'm just going to stand this way for now, just so that visually, I'm visible. And we're going to, the fingertips are going to arc out. So they're going to arc out in front and then come all the way up. So you're tracing this nice arc as if you're painting into that space, into the wall, into the ceiling. And then arc them, it's like you're creating this shape and you're trying to really create that edge as you bring them down. And then see if you can really feel that length in those fingertips towards the floor. See if you can feel that length. And then we'll do another arc where we really lift those arms into Urdhva Hastasana. You know, if it's useful, some people are quite visual, so they like to imagine maybe that they're drawing a color as you bring them down. And since I've been watching the Olympics, you know, a lot of those, I think it's those ski tracks, they've got, you know, marks on them, like clearly painted marks. So perhaps you feel those marks as you bring those fingers up and then slowly bring them down. And then I'm going to stand. We can do some standing poses from the front of the mat. And so how we're going to do it is we're really going to arc those arms up. Now, can you just soften the knees a little bit and see if you can really extend that right foot long behind you into Warrior One. And see if you can feel the fingertips all the way up to the ceiling, and then that heel is really pressing towards the floor. And then coming back, keep the arms up, bring the foot back, feel that length, and then exhale the arms down. A couple of breaths into Tadasana. And then again, arc those arms up. Feel that length in the fingertips up to the ceiling as you soften the other leg and really extend that foot behind you as if you are really reaching that heel towards the floor so the leg straightens. The hands above you really hold you here. Those fingertips up to the ceiling really keep you here. And then slowly bring that foot back and then bring the arms down. So arms overhead definitely is a way to get your heart rate going. So if you want to, you know, have quite a pace in your practice with your heart rate, you just keep, you know, going through moments where you keep lifting the arms, and that will do that. So now we'll again inhale those arms up, and again soften the knees. And this is my left leg, it could be your right leg. You're going to extend this long behind you, but this time the heel comes down. So now you really extend your toes as if you're reaching that wall on the diagonal or in front. Arms are up. And then because we're in Warrior Two, now extend those fingers to the front and to the back. See if you can feel how the space supports you here. And then inhale those arms up. And bring that back leg forward, feel that leg, and then exhale the arms down. I feel like I'm gonna be, you know, knocking over my screens using so much length today. And then inhale the arms up. Take the other foot long behind you. So now you've got, again, those arms up. Extend those toes. The back toes are a little bit on a diagonal. The front toes are straight in front of you. And then exhale the arms down. And the fingertips are going into the wall in front of you and the wall behind you. And then inhale the arms up again. Bring that back foot in. And then exhale the arms down. And take a couple of breaths there. And then again, inhale the arms up. Feel that extension through those fingertips and that extension to the feet that really press into the mat. And then again, bring the foot long behind you like we did in Warrior 2. So you're going to stay here for a minute, and then however you want to do the arms for Parsvakonasana. And then if you're doing Parsvakonasana with the hand over your head, see if you can feel those fingertips going diagonally up towards the ceiling, and that foot really pressing, like reaching down into the floor here. And then you're going to inhale both arms up again, and then bring that back foot into Tadasana, and then exhale the arms down. Have a few breaths here. And then inhale the arms up again. Taking the other foot all the way behind you. Arms are up. Then we'll go into Parsvakonasana and see if you can feel those. If you're doing this part of the pose, feel that top fingers coming to up towards that diagonal of the ceiling, and the other foot really pressing into the floor. And then inhale the arms coming up, and bringing that back leg in, and the arms down. And just a couple of breaths here. We'll just see how we go with the next pose. You might need something to put your hand on, but I haven't thought about how I was going to enter into the next pose. I might have to shift back a little bit. So for the next pose, you want to inhale the arms up, and then you're just going to have a little bend in the legs. And you're going to start to extend that back leg up, and then see if you can open and spread those arms out into a variation of half moon pose. And then you can slowly bring that leg down, arms up, and feet together, and then exhale the arms down. Couple of breaths there. Then inhale the arms up again. And take the other leg long behind you. Really press through that foot to the wall behind you. And then press through the arms wide. And then I lost my balance. Bringing that back foot in, arms up, and exhale down. And a couple of breaths there. And we'll do one more standing pose using this kind of length, and we'll see how we go. So, I'm just trying to make sure I have enough space. So, inhale the arms up, and then take the leg behind you, and then you're going to have a little bend here, but then you're slowly going to reach those fingers forward to go into Warrior 3 pose, and really press that foot behind you. The fingers are trying to touch the wall in front, the foot, the wall behind, and then inhale, slowly bring that foot in, and the arms come up. And then exhale down. A couple of breaths there. And then again, inhale the arms up. You're going to slowly start to bring the back foot back. Extend through the front fingertips as the leg comes up. And then slowly bring it back in. Up, and then exhale, bring the arms down, and then come down to your mat and line on your belly and bring those arms forward and see if you can really feel the length by bringing those hands forward, and then soften the arms and the legs. And just like we did on our belly, we're gonna just bring them a little bit wider here and then extend and see what that feels like. And then we'll soften it. And then we're gonna go even wider, like the X, except you're on your abdomen, and really press through the hands and the feet here. And then soften that. And then come back to the legs long and the hands in front, and really extend and then soften that. And then bring your arms down into the forearms on the floor, hands on the floor for Sphinx pose. But first what we're going to do, we just bring the arms here, but then take one foot and really press the heel. See if you can imagine that heel going to the wall behind you. Then put the top of the foot down and extend to the wall behind you. And then the second leg, press through the heel, toes are under, and then really extend those toes like they're coming to the wall behind you, and then the chest. So you're imagining your chest is going to the wall in front of you. You can imagine your nose again, and then slowly soften that. And you can just make a pillow with your hands and release the legs. Couple of breaths here. And then place the hands under your shoulders. And again, we'll do what we did with the legs. Take one toes underneath and really press through the heel first. Then place the foot on top of the foot on the floor. Then the other foot, toes under, press through the heel, top of the foot on the floor. So you got your bottom really extending through both toes, and then you're going to slowly lift the chest off, and then at the last little bit you press through the hands into cobra pose. And again, you can imagine that nose, or really the chest, going forward. And then slowly bring the hands down and just take a few breaths there. And then you can slowly come up into a little rounded pose, into child's pose. If you need to, you can stack your wrists like this. Or you can bring the forehead to the floor and the arms next to you, just allowing the weight to bring you into a nice rounded spine. And stay there for a couple of breaths, and then find your way into a shavasana that you feel supports your practice today, your time of day. So you can do feet up the wall, feet on a chair, regular shavasana, whatever is going to support you. Allow yourself to be supported into the floor. Depending on what pose you're in, maybe for a couple of breaths, see if you can feel your toes extending towards whatever wall, ceiling, wherever, which way they are. And then just soften that. And then see if you can feel your fingertips extending to the wall, the floor, whichever direction they're headed. And then soften that. And then see if you can feel your head and your tailbone really extend, extend, extend. And then soften. And then see if you can feel the shoulder blades widening, 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 widening out. And soften. See if you can feel your collarbone notches widening, widening, widening out. And then softening. And see if you can feel your sacrum widening, 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 and then softening. And then what about the front of the pelvis? Those two bones in the front, can they widen, 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 and then just soften? I'll read you something from my book about the story of every flower. And she says, creativity is not an elusive gift bestowed upon a selected few. It is not something others have, but you do not. Creativity is a blessing and your birthright. Creativity is love. It is for you. It is you. Creativity is not an elusive gift bestowed upon a select few. It is not something others have, but you do not. Creativity is a blessing and your birthright. Creativity is love. It is for you. It is you. So just let that settle into your body. And rest. And slowly begin to reawaken your body, wiggling your fingers and toes, You can give your body a nice big stretch. Maybe you take a big yawn. Let some of that fresh oxygen come in. Then you can slowly roll to your side and come up to sitting. And namaste, and have a beautiful day or evening wherever you are in the world. And thank you. Thank you for watching and joining us. Namaste.